Peach preserves and what no one deserves. It's the Power of God's Love podcast, episode 1026. Hey there, Tony here. I'm going to share a story that I've shared before, at least over on my website, tonyfunderburk.com. I don't know if I've shared it on a podcast episode before or not. I might have, and I think I did. But even if I didn't, I'm going to share it again because I know it's been a long time, and I think it's a great story. It's a story about how my younger brother and I lived with my grandparents, my dad's parents, for a little while, a couple years maybe, somewhere between a year and a half and 2 years, I think. And this was way back, closer to the middle of last century, the 20th century, and it was in Norman, Oklahoma. My parents, unfortunately, were getting divorced, so my dad made sure my brother and I had a stable home to stay in while they went through that messy process. And that's where I first learned about peach preserves and other kinds of fruit preserves and stuff like that. My grandmother taught me a bunch of stuff about all that stuff. Anyway, a bunch of stuff about that stuff, yeah. But peach preserves stands out above the rest, and I'll tell you why, okay? Because I'm a peachy kind of guy. Okay, that's not the real reason. It's true, but it's not the real reason. The real reason that I remember peach preserves even more than all the rest is because of my grandmother's peach cobbler and a little story that she and I share. One time, as she was making one of her peach cobblers from scratch, the kind that has the crisscross crust across the top, say that 3 times fast, she gave me one of the peach pits from the fresh peaches that she peeled, and she told me to open it up and find the seed. Well, I was a highly curious 5-year-old boy, so I did that. I remember she gave me some sort of maybe it was a spoon. I don't think she would have given me a knife, but she might have. Something that I could pry apart the peach pit. And I remember thinking how the pit felt like wood. And I thought, yeah, this is kind of weird. It even had sort of a crisscross lattice look. So I was thinking, there's a seed in here? This looks like wood. So I was certainly surprised to find kind of a soft seed inside the wooden pit. So, I blurted out, "Grandmother, look, I found it." She said, "You know what you can turn that seed into?" I said, "No, what?" And she said, "Well, take this old spoon outside and dig a small hole and plant that seed inside it and then cover it up with dirt because it'll turn into a tree." Ho, 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 that got me. I thought, whoa, I could turn this little seed into a tree? So that's exactly what I did. I went outside with my spoon and my seed, and I dug a small hole, and I planted the seed inside it, and I covered it up with dirt, and that was that. Well, at least that's all there was to it for, I don't know, almost another 20 years, I would say. But it was about that many years that I was back at their house as an adult with a lot of the extended family celebrating my grandparents' 50th wedding anniversary. And you know how that goes, her 3 sons, one of which was my dad. They all brought the families, and each family brought some goodies. So plenty of good food, relatives seeing each other for the first time in a while, and one particularly delightful treat for me. Right there on grandmother's kitchen counter was a cobbler made with homemade peach preserves, or peaches or something. There were peaches in it. It was a peach cobbler. And as I was serving up a slice for myself, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. Grandmother came in and asked me how I liked it. Of course, I said I loved it. And she said, "Would you believe I got the peaches from that tree right out there in the yard where you planted a seed when you were a little boy?" And I looked out there, and sure enough, there's that tree, a peach tree, right out next to their house. I didn't even pay attention when I was coming into their house for the celebration. And I thought that was so cool. I still do. I doubt that I'll ever forget that story. We'll probably talk about it in heaven when I see her again. Now, what brought it to mind for me today was a line from the second letter that Paul wrote to his protege, Timothy. 2 Timothy. It made me think about what God does that nobody deserves. Nobody. He sort of makes us into some peachy preserves. And here's the line from Paul's letter that I read, and it made me think of grandmother's peach cobbler. The line says, "And the Lord will deliver me from every evil work and preserve me for his heavenly kingdom." That's what I wish for you and me today. And here's some more of what I wish. There are people of the past and people of today. They're standing in lines and they're passing away. Well, let's not talk about that. Let's go and find some fun. Burn our candles at both ends. Let our wild sides run. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to know why, because then maybe we'll feel near it and we'll break down and cry. Yeah, I wish our world was better. I wish our world was fair. I wish we'd get together and end the grief out there. I wish our world was perfect, and I wish our world was sane. I wish there was no hatred or quest for earthly gain. That's what I wish. There are innocent children who were living on dreams. Now their dreams have exploded, blown apart at the seams. And they look to their mothers and their fathers for help. But their parents can't help them because they can't help themselves. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to know where, just as long as it's not us. Who are we to care? Oh, I wish our world was better. I wish our world was fair. I wish we'd get together and end the grief out there. Yeah, I wish the world was perfect, and I wish our world was sane. I wish there was no hatred or quest for earthly gain. That's what I wish. I wish the quest was for storing up our treasures in heaven. I hope that's what you're doing today. And I hope something else you'll do is go over to TonyFunderburk.com and get Tony's daily devotional delivered to your inbox for free. All it takes is your email. And I share the daily devotional with believers who want to focus on the power of God's love and rightly divide the word of truth. And when you get the devotional sent to you, you can spend your time reading and listening and watching good stuff based on the power of God's love instead of having to go look for it. And to show my sincere appreciation for your time and attention, I'll send you download links to music and a book I wrote called The Very First 6 Days. It's a rhyming book for kids about the creation week, the very first 6 days, when God made the whole universe. And kids from 3 to 103 can enjoy all these fun goodies I'm going to send you. All it takes, as I said, is your email, and then we'll get connected right away. And until next time, this is Tony, and I want to encourage you and me to go out there and look for every opportunity we can to share the power of God's love with a world who needs Him more than they know.